Hello there, hellos, and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Shadow of the Erdtree expansion for Elden Ring, and what it is that I would like to see in that expansion when it eventually releases. We don't have a specific release window for it currently, but I'd say it probably is looking to come out probably around November of this year, maybe around about February of next year. That's what I think we're generally looking at for a release window for this kind of thing. But in this video, I want to talk about what I want to see and things that I don't want to see in this expansion. And please let me know down below what it is that you would like to see or things you wouldn't want to see in this expansion when it eventually releases. I know we've got Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon coming up first, but, you know, I'm mainly focused on the Dark Souls kind of thing. That's the main thing I'm looking forward to seeing. Not to take away anything from Armored Core. I'm sure the new Armored Core game is going to be good. But, you know, Elden Ring, more Elden Ring content is more in line with what I'm looking to see. So, the first thing I think is I would like to see bosses that are a bit more... How should I put it? They're still aggressive, but there's a bit more of a window to actually dodge and sort of master things a bit better. Because the problem is, a lot of the time when you eventually overcome a boss in Elden Ring, you still don't necessarily feel like you've mastered it. Like for the average person, right, you don't always feel like you've mastered that boss like you do in some of the earlier games. You don't feel like you've got a proper, you know, even if you do a soul level 1 run, sometimes for me it feels a bit more like luck when I manage to overcome something. Like, yes, I had to get a good understanding of some of the moves, but there's always that one or two moves which have such a small window for you to actually dodge, and especially for people who don't have incredibly fast reflexes. Sometimes you just feel like some of these bosses, like, you know, you just don't have time to dodge. You don't have time to actually register everything they're doing. When they've got so many moves as well, it's pretty crazy. I'm not saying that I want bosses to be easier, but just a bit more fair. Like they can still be really quick, they can still have loads of moves and everything, but just make it so that the window between when they start an attack and when they actually attack is just a little bit more fair. Because, you know, for a lot of bosses in Elden Ring, they don't have this issue. They don't have this issue where the moves don't necessarily feel fair, but there are a lot that do have this kind of issue. And just generally, yeah, take more advice from the bosses that do feel more fair. Like Margit is a pretty decent fight overall, whereas then a boss like Godric is pretty fair for the most part, but then there's that one or two attacks which just feel a little bit bullshit at times. But anyway, that's the first thing. The second thing is I'm wondering how this expansion is actually going to work in terms of being connected to the lands between it geographically. Is it going to be a separate area that you teleport to, which is also open world? Is it going to just be more like Dark Souls, traditional Dark Souls levels, or, you know, as people are calling them, legacy dungeons now? Is it just going to be like several legacy dungeons for this expansion? Or I think we might get a small to medium-sized open world area that you can teleport to, which immediately I don't like the sound of. But I would probably, like myself personally, I actually would probably prefer it just to be legacy dungeons. Like you just teleport to an area and it's the start of a legacy dungeon, and maybe make it so the expansion is like three or four traditional Elden Ring legacy dungeons that are connected in more of a interesting way. So essentially you're teleported to this place, it's the start of a legacy dungeon, and then during your journey you maybe go to 2 or 3 of these additional locations, but maybe with a couple of optional areas that are still connected. So make it so it's like 3 or 4 areas that are connected with some side areas that are also connected. So instead of making it open world, because I mean, you know, we've already had that open world fill, haven't we, in Elden Ring? I'm not specifically craving any more open world Elden Ring. Like, yeah, I don't want to just explore another world as part of this expansion. I'm looking for more bosses, more legacy dungeon levels. That's the kind of thing that I want to see more. And traditionally, Dark Souls DLCs have been like that. They've been more 1 or 2 areas that are connected quite nicely, or sometimes you just sort of, like a Dark Souls 3 with a Ring City, you just sort of walk down maybe 2 levels, like, you know, a bit more linearly. But I would personally like what I said for more Elden Ring as opposed to an open world. I'm really hoping they don't do a bit like another open world, because we don't need that. We don't need more open world area to just wander around in and get lost in. Like, I've got that with Elden Ring, and Elden Ring is such a massive game that if I want to explore the world, there's still parts of Elden Ring that I don't know. And I've gone through the game several times now. There's still parts of that game that I'm not as familiar with. But, so that's what I'm mainly looking forward to seeing, and I suppose one thing I don't want to see. Now, the one thing is, I'm wondering if they're going to add any more multiplayer mechanics to Elden Ring, because they've added on this arena. Are they going to add on anything else? Because, you know, traditionally in Dark Souls, like Dark Souls 1 had 1 DLC, but Dark Souls 2 had 3 smaller DLCs. Dark Souls 3 had 2 DLCs. Are we only going to get the 1 expansion for Elden Ring, or are we going to get another one? I think this is something that I'll be interested in seeing. I'm thinking we're only going to get 1, personally, because the size of it is seeming pretty, you know, like what they're sort of hinted at is pretty substantial additions we're getting here. And I'm thinking we're probably going to get 1 large expansion. And I think if it's going to be 1 large expansion, it only makes sense for them to add some multiplayer mechanic as well in some way, be it additional modes, additional maps, additional ways of playing. Just something I think would be good for the multiplayer crowd, because I know that Elden Ring generally has been seen as not being as good multiplayer wise compared to some of the previous From Software entries that we have seen. So I'm hoping they do manage to satisfy that portion of the fan base a bit more as well. But also, yeah, I think to go back to what I was talking about before, it'll be interesting if maybe there are 2 expansions. What if Elden Ring ends up being a game that is constantly updated for several years? Maybe they have an expansion for 2024, an expansion for 2025, an expansion for 2026. You know, what if they keep doing that as opposed to making a new game? They instead make more additions to Elden Ring. Elden Ring is such a massive game that it wouldn't surprise me if they did something like that and try to just build on the foundation they've already got here. Because, I mean, if they're going to make another game, is it going to be just like another open world for them to explore? I don't know how they would really go about it if they did a sequel to Elden Ring. And I think that's something that I'd be interested in seeing. Maybe going about that kind of model where they just keep building on it over time, have more maybe free updates as well to keep people invested in what's already a very big experience. So yeah, I'd be interested in hearing what you think down below. What are the things that you want to see in Elden Ring? Because I know a lot of people, it's about the boss fights for a lot of people, and I just never felt fully satisfied with the Elden Ring boss fights. Like, they're good, don't get me wrong, but it just feels more like, I don't know, they're trying to make them too difficult. And it was sort of pushing me away from some of the boss encounters, whereas I think a boss needs to walk that fine line. If it's going to be a difficult boss, it needs to walk that fine line. And I think Elden Ring sort of crosses the line into just bullshit territory sometimes, and especially when there's reused and recycled bosses, it just takes away some of the charm that a boss fight had in Dark Souls 3. And I'm really hoping that when we get to this Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree Expansion, we don't see recycled or reused bosses, because at this point, there's no need. I'm pretty sure From Software, even if they don't listen to the community, because they don't tend to usually make, you know, they don't tend to do things even, you know, they don't tend to listen too much to what people say. They tend to just do their own thing because usually they know best. But I think they probably know that people have complained about the recycled bosses. I'm pretty sure it's impossible. And I think Hidetaka Miyazaki, he's not stupid. He probably knows that maybe this did take away something of certain aspects of the game when you're reusing and recycling content. He's not stupid. He's going to know that it takes away some of that individuality that a boss specifically had. But yeah, I really hope that we don't see more of that in the expansion, because that would be, it would just, you know, it's paid content as well, and no one wants to see reused and recycled bosses in paid content. It's one of the issues with the blue smelter demon in Dark Souls 2. When you got to reuse and reskin boss as part of paid content, it makes people even more salty. And Shadow of the Erdtree is probably going to be a pretty hefty price. I'm imagining £20-25 or $30 or whatever in the United States for this expansion, because what it's looking like it's adding is going to be a massive amount of content. That's not going to come at a small cost. So anyway, yeah, like I said before, let me know what you think down in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Shout out to my channel members as well. I don't mean to forget to shout out my channel members. I try and always add it on in the graphics at the end of the video, but sometimes when I'm just talking and I'm going, you know, you just forget to. But I do really appreciate all the support I get from my channel members. It's what's allowing me to make more content long form content. Now, I'm going to add a little bit at the end of this video here because I made a community post recently, but it didn't seem to get seen by that many people. So I'm just going to go over what I talked about in that. So currently, I'm looking to focus more big time on analysis projects. I put a poll in my community tab the other day asking if people wanted to see more frequent analysis videos and less of the Let's Play videos. So that means not daily uploads anymore, but instead I'm going to be focusing more on the analysis content, which is what people seem to have come to my channel to see. So I'm going to be releasing a very long, in-detail analysis of Doom, which is going to be north of an hour. I always try and make them as in-depth as possible, so of course it's going to be over an hour. And it's going to be a full analysis of that original 1993 Doom game. I'm going to be going through the 27 original maps in the game, as well as the 4th episode of 9 additional maps Thy Flesh Consumed, as well as 9 other maps that was added by John Romero in a supposed 5th episode that he was going to create. And he made this in 2019 to support Doom's 25th anniversary, or to celebrate Doom's 25th anniversary. So I'm looking to focus more on these long-form analysis videos. So they're going to be coming out quicker, but that means there'll be less frequent uploads on the channel. I'm still looking to make at least one video every single week. So hopefully it's going to sort of, balance still somewhat frequent uploads with keeping this analysis video stuff going. Because I do still want to have other videos where I'm talking to you more frequently. Because if I just go away for like 3 or 4 weeks while I'm working on this analysis video, then release an analysis video, it would feel like there's not really any connection between me and the subscribers, you guys that are in this sort of little community that I've got here. So I want to try and have more frequent uploads, and I still want to keep community videos going, like my Fundamental Flaw series, maybe even have more submission videos by you guys talking about things in general in the gaming industry, because I love that kind of stuff. I love making videos that you guys have submitted ideas for and then bouncing off of that. It's how I create a really interesting community and get a good connection going with yours. So anyway, yes, my Bloodborne analysis is still coming as well. That's going to be coming towards the end of July, whereas this Doom analysis is going to be coming in the middle of June to the end of June, something like this. So maybe, well, Bloodborne probably be early July, I'd say. Then I'm looking to maybe do a Fallout 3 analysis, then my Dark Souls 3 analysis, but I'm also hoping to do more analysis videos of games like Myst, Quake, Grim Fandango, Minecraft, and I also did some old analysis videos on my channel of Arkham Asylum and the original Resident Evil, which I'm looking to maybe revamp, give them a nice fresh coat of paint, maybe expand on them a little bit, and then release those again as new analysis videos as well when they come out. So let me know what you think of all that, and let me know down in the comments again what you're thinking of all of this, everything I talked about in the video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Maybe share this video with anything I feel was good enough. Thank you again for watching. This is Soulreborn signing out. Have a good one.